the hate mail every day. This is one of the days that makes doing this job worth it. Actually, this is one of the weeks that makes doing this job worth it. Yesterday we had Rowdy Roddy Piper in studio, which was totally awesome. But this is just as awesome, maybe in many ways more awesome for me as a child of the 80s. Joining us now is Peter Mayhew, who is and was Chewbacca in all of in the Star Wars movies. He joins us here live at the Denver Starfest here at the Denver Tech Center. Peter Mayhew, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's really great to see you in person, and I think everybody knows who Chewbacca is. It's such an iconic character. And I want to ask you the first question of the morning that we've been asking to listeners all morning. And it may seem like a random question, but I'm guessing you have thoughts on it. Star Wars and the story that it tells. Is the world of Star Wars a conservative world or a liberal world in your mind? And you don't have to be speaking for Chewbacca. You can speak for yourself, not as Chewbacca, but just for yourself.
Speaking as for myself, I think I'd say it was a conservative world.
I agree. Why do you say that?
Because God's no Labour. Let's go Democrat. No, I don't. It's just thinking about it. It's just a conservative. Everything is there. Everything is organised. Everything fits into each other, and it's you're looking at a fairy story basically. I'm not saying that there are so many characters, and basically it's Luke Skywalker's story.
That's right.
As told by 3PO and R2. And
that's interesting.
Consequently, you see everything through the establishment, which 3PO and R2 are part of. So.
And I want to ask you a question about Chewbacca. Before we get into how you actually played the role and what it was required and the physicality of it, as Chewbacca right here, were Chewbacca and Han Solo partners, or did Han have the upper hand, or did Chewie have the upper hand? I've always wondered about that. That relationship is sort of, it's an interesting one.
I thought, well, they're gonna make changes. Never did. So Chewie stayed virtually from day one to what he could do to right through all the movies.
Why do you think that Chewbacca, out of all the characters in the Star Wars series, because there's just so many great characters, but Chewbacca, I mean, you can say to almost anybody the word Chewbacca, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, in my house, my wife hadn't seen Star Wars. She was one of the few who hadn't seen Star Wars until, I don't know, it was 7 or 8 years ago. And we got our dog. We always started referring to our dog as, like, he looks like Chewbacca. He's a Wookiee. Why do you think out of all the great characters in Star Wars, Chewbacca is the one that really, you can say, I would argue even more than Princess Leia or Han Solo. If you say Chewbacca, somebody knows what you're talking about. Why do you think that is?
Because he is a safety net. He's the guy next door. He's your big brother. He's a secure thing. Something that you know that you can count on. If you get into trouble, there's two ways that Chewie goes. Usually that way fast, or if he stands and starts tearing arms off, you've got a good buddy. So I think that's what it is, because I've had lots of people come up with little dolls, the little 3.5-inch dolls. That's my security blanket. Or this has got me through whatever emotional thing that they were going through. It's got me through because I believed what Chewie could do.
And what's interesting about that is that there's all these references made to Chewbacca being this guy who can rip people's arms off and, don't get the Wookiee mad. But you actually never see Chewbacca. You don't even see evidence of Chewbacca. Like, you don't see like a body that he's ripped apart. I mean,
No.
it's just this sort of, it's out there that this guy can kick ass when he wants to turn it on, but you never actually see him turn it on. It's sort of like, it reminds me of the movie, that old other 80s movie, My Bodyguard. It was like The Bodyguard. You never actually saw him. It's an old, it's a teen movie. You never actually see him. He's just a big guy, but you never actually see him kick ass.
True.
But you know that he can. I guess, was there ever a discussion, did you ever think in the movies before they were made that there was going to be a scene where Chewie would have to really, go medieval on somebody?
Not really, because I think it was it was the way George described it. He would develop his own character, and that way, and that's basically what I did. As I described earlier, you can't stand around and sit around without moving to be a character. And it just naturally took its own course. Luckily, people enjoyed it, and that's why it's so popular the way it is.
I want to ask you a personal question that I've asked to a number of guests who've played iconic roles like you played. The question of, I had on, for instance, Fred Savage.